can be in a crowd of 1,000 people, but you are lonely. Why? Because you are not attached to them. You don't feel part of them. So you're like, I am here, I'm alone. I don't even know why I'm here in the first place. If you are too stressed, you become anxious, or you start fearing, you become fearful. It's like if you are bitten by a dog. So a psychopath is somebody who psychologically deviates from what we expect. Most of the people, when they find somebody who has lost somebody, they don't know what to do. They go there talking, you get a new child, don't worry, you are young. That's not African. More women than men attempt suicide, but more men than women commit suicide. Let me tell you, sleep, don't sleep now, read. When you become an adult, you sleep. Which sleep do you do? When you live in Logai and you have to get into a matatu and be in town by 7. My name is Dr. Geoffrey Wango. I'm a counseling psychologist and a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. I'm a member of the American Psychological Association. I'm a member of the Kenya National Academy of Sciences. I'm a member of several organizations that deal with counseling psychology. I have written extensively on counseling psychology, particularly in Kenya and in the more traditional contemporary societies. By that I mean our society is more traditional and we are becoming more modern and more contemporary as life goes on. I have I've written several journal articles, mainly on counseling and psychology. My major concern is how we can understand ourselves, our people, how we can understand the more traditional societies, and how psychology and counseling can be applied in various contexts. This includes aspects like mental health, aspects that affect us like depression, aspects that affect us like suicidal ideation, and other aspects of our everyday living, including the changing careers, aspect of the social media that is very apparent. And most probably, at best of all, is parenting and the globalization of the new world economy. Very interesting studies, if you ask me, because it touches on so many aspects, the changing careers, the way we can handle our issues, our everyday lifestyle. And I have also done a lot of aspects to bring in aspect of us improving our lives on mental health as ADL, what we call activities of daily living, improving the quality and quantity of our lives. We call it quality. I've even come up with concepts like talk to a friend, where we try to say that if you have an issue, it is best if you try to talk to someone whom you feel very comfortable with. That can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a pastor of religion, it can be a social worker, it can be a doctor, it can be a counseling psychologist. So I try to promote a lot of mental health, and that's why I have a presidential award of the Order of the Grand Warrior for promoting mental health in Kenya and globally. Psychology is probably one of the most important subjects in our times and in our world. Actually, psychology is the study of mental processes and human behavior. A human being consists of basically three things. It's about our body, and then it has something to do with our mind and our spiritualism. And you can see the spiritual is connected to our spiritualism, is connected to our body, and our body is connected to our mind. Psychology is the study of human behavior and mental processes. After you study them, you come up with two aspects. There is the part where we connect it also to mental health. You connect it to your well-being. So mental health is about how well are you doing. So you're doing very well. Mental illness is when you're not doing as well as you should. Now, in this balancing act, there's a way we can make you do well. Like we can guide you. Like look at the way we sit next to each other, and we mutually understand each other, and we respect each other. So we are orderly as persons. So there is you, there's psychology, you study the you and the us. the group, and the individual and the community. But then, careful now, careful, as the person is functioning in society, they may have or they may be unable to adjust. So we say they are socially maladjusted. And as they become maladjusted, they can also, that is in terms of the social well-being, it can escalate to psychological, that affects the mind. So we say the person is psychotic. And that's now when we distinguish between psychology, the study of mental processes, to psychiatry and clinical psychology, which now studies persons who have some disturbing mental processes. So at one point, when you are functioning very well, we say that you are doing well, but the mind may not necessarily function as well as it can. Let's pick the easiest way: stress. All of us are usually stressed. We get stressed for one reason or another. If you are a supporter of Arsenal fan like me, sometimes you are defeated, and well, you have to do a bit of crying. But the crying is good, but don't overextend it. If you lose somebody whom you love, and death is there, but in psychology you study death a lot, you lose, and we keep losing people, unfortunately, through death. So you have to go through something called loss and grief. As long as this loss and grief is controlled, you can cry a bit. But if you continue crying too much, we say you have a disturbance, or you are psychologically disturbed, and it can escalate to you being depressed. And so the psychology is about, it's in a continuum. You operate very well normally, but if you are too stressed, you become anxious, or you start fearing, you become fearful. It's like if you are bitten by a dog. If you are bitten by a dog, you fear dogs. So even when the dog is locked, you fear it will bite you, but it's not biting you. So anxiety and fear are connected. The fear is real. The anxiety is not as real. So you move from a bit of stress here, a bit of fear here, anxiety. If you are not doing very well, you suffer something called burnout. That is, the frustrations and disappointment of life are too many. So it moves now to depression, and it can move to bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. So whereas as a counseling psychologist, we would like you to assist you to do with your stress, a bit of anxiety here, a bit of burnout, up to burnout. That one we are dealing with the ordinary way of life, the ordinary challenges of life. Beyond there, it can become psychosis. And that's when now we refer you to a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist who now starts assessing the way your mental health is functioning, and whether it is functioning very well. You can use it the same thing with somebody who has committed a crime of murder. Is this person normal? That's why you hear people going for assessment, medical assessment, and then the psychiatrist or the clinical psychologist assesses and says this person was normal, if you like, when they committed the crime, and therefore this person can be tried in a court of law. But if, careful now, if the person was not in their normal self, then this is a psychiatric case, and this is a person who is psychologically sick and who should be, again, separated from society, because he or she is a danger to society. And that's why sometimes you notice that in many instances, people think that people who are not functioning very well mentally should be separated from society. We need to be very careful. Mental illness is a disease like any other, and it can escalate simply because of someone is stressed or depressed, and they are ordinary people. But in the more traditional societies like ours, that's why I specialize in this, we take to think that it is someone has been bewitched. And that's why there are several things we do in our African societies. I don't like calling them African. It's African and Asian, the more traditional societies. Mental health diseases, including HIV and AIDS, COVID, and persons with disabilities. And even death, we tend to say, why did this person die? Why particularly this particular person? So we are back now to psychology. Our psychologist says, it's something this person did.
They were bewitched.
Or they did something to the ancestors. That's why this person is removing clothes. This person is not removing clothes because they did something to the ancestors. It's because their mind is not functioning as well as they should. Right now, mental health is escalating. And quickly, why? In the more traditional societies, there were several mechanisms that we had put in. If we go back slightly a bit, we will say many aspects were not understood in traditional societies like they are understood now. For instance, in many communities, if someone gave birth to twins, some societies believed it was a curse and they would kill the twins. Obviously, it would affect the mother, who would be disturbed mentally or psychologically because her children are being killed. People were also dying. Like in the more traditional societies, we did not understand death. And so we felt it was something that happened that was mysterious. So the only thing was that there was a lot of support mechanism. There was the family, there was the community, there was a lot of guidance, there was a lot of counseling. Oh yes, and there was a lot of mentorship. When a lady became pregnant, first of all, the men and the women were taught that you don't become pregnant before marriage. Because you see, we tended to see that marriage is for the continuity of the family. So let's try one more. So in that case, it meant that when a man is there or a lady, they were talked to. And so when you married, you were told, now you are a man. This is how to go about looking after your family. When you are a lady, you got a baby. Let me give you a very quick example. When a lady gets pregnant or got a baby, in our context, in our traditional context, the women would immediately go and visit her. And when they would visit her, 4 or 5 ladies would go in. One would hold the baby, as the other one washes the clothes, as the other one washes the house, as the other one cooks, and as another one fetches water. So she gets some comfort and she gets some relief. So by the time they are gone, she has eaten, the house has been cleaned, and the baby has been washed. So because the baby has been washed and she has eaten and she's relaxed, the baby sucks and the baby sleeps and the mother sleeps. You have prevented depression in the mother and in the child. Fast track to modern society. A lady gives birth. If she is a teenage, the mother is growing her. Nobody comes to visit her. Where did you get this baby? The young man has run away because he does not want any responsibility. The girl doesn't know whether to go with the young man who doesn't want her or to her parents who don't also want her. So the economic situation, you see, this is the economic situation because it's about taking care of responsibilities. Now, escalate this to 2, 3, 4, 5 cases. Escalate this to economic crisis. By the way, it's known psychologically that depression, even in 1939, anytime there's a depression in the world, including during COVID-19, in the year 2021, there's a lot of suicide because people are affected by the economy. Where on it, why do we have so many cases now of suicide or people dying by suicide, which we didn't have in traditional societies? Maybe the question is the opposite. What are some of the causes of suicide? Suicide is first of all, is genetic. It has something to do with family. There are certain people, there are certain people who could have died by suicide in the family. So others in the family take it that is the trend. And then 2 more major factors. Another one is the economic. Many people feel they can't hold it. And that's why you see more women than men attempt suicide, but more men than women commit suicide. We can say it again. More women than men attempt suicide, but more men than women commit suicide. What are some of the reasons why men commit suicide? They have accommodated financially. They have so many loans. And these loans reach a point where it is at a point of no return because of the financial obligations. So if you compare the traditional society, when there were less people, when the farm was 20 acres, when you could go hunting, when you had no school fees to pay, no phone to buy, no phone to buy, and you didn't have this thing on the you didn't have electricity bills, you didn't have water bills, you didn't have house bills. Now, fast track to where we are. You have a car, you have fuel, you have you have so many of these bills. You know, it's mind-boggling. It's like you're overwhelmed. It's overwhelming. But you can imagine, and I'm not saying we go back to the traditional societies, although we can. You can imagine this child going with the grandfather to look after the 100 or 200 cows, and then they slaughter one in the evening, and they sit and have some stories. And then fast track it to now. Even now with the phones, we are more lonely. Who is going to visit you? They can text you. They can send you the video of what we are doing. So you would be shocked. You would be shocked. It is said 30 to 40% of people right now are suffering from loneliness. Loneliness is not being alone. Loneliness is you are there with the people, but you're not with them. And you can be in a crowd of 1,000 people, but you are lonely. Why? Because you are not attached to them. You don't feel part of them. So you're like, I am here. I'm alone. I don't even know why I'm here in the first place. And that is also linked to meaning and purpose in life. You want to own a car. You want to own a V8. How can you own a V8 when the salary you earn can only pay for your mobile ticket? I mean, for you to make a few calls. So it's overwhelming right now. The demands of modern living are too heavy, and there is nobody to support you. All of us are busy. I mean, who is not busy? You are looking for money. So who is going to come and talk to you? But in the traditional societies, as Achebe would say, we don't come to your home to eat food. There was food in my house. We don't come to your house to see the moon. I could have seen it in my house. We come to your house so that we can eat together and see the moon together and see the stars together. But now people are lonely. In psychological terms, in terms of studying, like I said at the beginning, psychology is the study of mental processes and human behavior. We usually don't like calling any culture foreign. We like looking at culture as, first of all, evolving. That's why that's why, for instance, my papers are about traditional, contemporary. Culture is evolving. Culture evolves. So you could have started from here and gone here. The other thing is, there's no culture that is more superior to another. The truth is, there were certain aspects of our traditional culture that were not as good, could also have had several psychological implications for very, very many people. A quick one that we always point out is female genital mutilation. It had its obvious side effects on the psychological being, especially of girls and women. But looking at it then so we look at culture as evolving. So let's call it, if we call the culture the more traditional here and the contemporary here, rather than calling it foreign, if you allow, then we see a transition. And the transition is this way. Now, in this transition from the more traditional, what we could have called the more traditional culture, there were certain things that were doing very well. But when we evolved to where we are, we may have left them.
The problem is that this evolution was not voluntary.
Yes.
There was an imposition.
Yes.
And that the medium of that imposition was colonialism.
Colonialism, yes.
So they came and they said, your culture is terrible.
Yes, yes.
Abandon it.
Yes.
You know?
That I agree.
If you did not abandon it, you are beaten up.
Yes, you are primitive.
Yes, you are primitive. So,
yes.
And then they imposed their own culture.
Their culture, yes. To that extent, I agree. Was when colonialism came, it did not carry the more traditional culture. And that is why there were several practices in the more traditional cultures that we could have carried along to the contemporary. That's why even now when we bring the phone, like now, a simple one is the social media now, with the mobile phone and the internet. What are we saying? Even during COVID, we are saying, we as Africans or as traditional people, we value a burial ceremony. I would like, because there's no travel, and you're in US or you're in Mombasa, and we are in Nakuru holding a funeral, we can take a video and we send you, so that you feel you have also attended the funeral. In psychology, we call that closure. So I agree with you when you say the colonial impact forgot that there should have been several carry-offers. It's like you close a bank account, then you leave the old one and you fail to transfer the money to the new. But also the money is yours. So in a major way, those are some of the ways we failed. Because like the guidance that the guidance, and that's why, like in the more traditional societies, you're saying, let us mentor even young people. Let us mentor the young girls. Let us mentor the young men and women. Let us mentor everybody, including in their career. I was going to give you another example that we always give in psychology, where, with due respect to all religions, we tell people that God stays in heaven. But when somebody loses, when we go to for the burial, the funeral, a person is buried on the ground. So the children always ask the parents, you told me God lives in heaven, but when you buried my father or whoever, you took them to the ground. Is that more open or more confusing? You see, I was going to show you that this one, the contemporary, where it tries to deal with this, it also fails. There's no margin.
I want to ask you something, I'll follow up on that. Right?
Yes.
I've heard the term African psychotherapy.
Psychotherapy, yes.
And I wanted you to expound on that. What it is.
Perfect. Thank you. Actually, it's very interesting. There are several therapies that we call African psycho. By the way, where you had reached where we had done what the difference between psychology. So psychology is actually the whole of this knowledge. And then counseling psychology is concerned with therapy. Therapy is what we call talk therapy. Like the way we are talking with you, it has a lot of effects. In fact, in Africa, when somebody lost, and that's why in Africa, when somebody loses somebody, we all go there. We offer support. It's called the Ministry of Presence. We go there and we sit there and we have a chat with them. That is called talk therapy. Remember we said the clinical and the psychiatry is for somebody who is disturbed. Now, therapy or the art of talking is African. It is African. When you get married, when a lady gets married, the other ladies would come. Then they would tell her, or when she gives birth, they would tell her, you have given birth. And this is the way to wash the baby. So talk therapy by itself is African. But we have others that people don't know. And I'll quickly show you a few that you wouldn't believe. One of them is called narrative therapy. What do you do the easiest, when you find somebody has lost somebody? Most of the people, when they find somebody who has lost somebody, they don't know what to do. They go there talking, you get a new child, don't worry, you are young. That's not African. That is foreign. They are the ones who tell people. And by the way, even it is not foreign, it is very unkind and confusing. In Africa, we do the easiest thing. What happened? We ask, what happened? Oh, what happened? Mm-hmm. We were with my mom the other day. Then we took her to hospital. Then she was not feeling well. We came back, and then she ate some food. And then after that, at that point, you be very careful whether you are nodding or you be careful. You don't nod when they say she passed on, because by nodding you say you accept or you are encouraging. So you encourage her. So she had already taken medicine, yes. Or she came and slept. Then you came. It is narrative. And the person starts hearing. But so it is hearing. It's very hearing. And that's why people don't understand when we say counseling. We are not telling you to call this person and tell them, can you sit here? We are now going to do therapy for 5 hours. No. The easiest is a chat. Let me show you another one. Music and dance. Music and dance is very therapeutic. you know, in Africa we go, you sing a song, even in the churches and wherever. By the way, do you know songs are very therapeutic? And when you listen to songs, I always advise people, always go for songs, especially when you are old like me, that have a rhythm. That's why you listen, it calms the mind. In traditional, we sat and we had our drum, and we simply beat our drum, and we didn't pay to join the dance. But now in the contemporary, you have to pay for the song, and you have to pay for the TV, and you have to pay for the token for you to listen to the music. Now, what about the narrative? In the narrative, we used to tell you a story. Once upon a time, the hare and the hyena were friends. They used to visit each other. Now for you to listen to the story, you have to buy a book. And that's why, by the way, it's shocking. I tell people that and they are like, I can't believe it. These things are now coming in the internet, even in social media. We want Sigmund Freud and others to explain the mental processes of human mind. But we must interpret it in our terms. What are our terms? Our terms are very simple. When a child loses their parent and they are in school, let the child, if for instance they're in a boarding school, be corrected on Thursday or Friday. If the funeral is on Friday, let them attend the funeral for closure, so that they can also see the parent has gone. Then they can say on Saturday and maybe on Saturday, and then you return them to school. Why? You give the child for 2 weeks, the child has not been in class, the child has not been doing homework. Now come to the contemporary, which I like the way you write, with an academic that emphasis on performance, and the child is 2 weeks. The child doesn't know why they are performing poorly. Is it because their parent died, or because they were home, or why are the teachers telling him or her to kneel down? So you actually psychologically torment the child to the extent that they wish their parent did not die, or whoever it was, because this person brought problems. So, and this in terms of human beings, we call it childhood challenges. It later comes to haunt the child. Remember, I like the way we have gone into a sad mood. You are going into a sad mood because you want to bring the economics. This parent was also the one paying fees, and now the child has to go home because there is no school fees. So the death is a loss, physically, psychologically, and in every way. But now it has such financial implications that you have just brought this child's life, unfortunately, to a halt. There's something we call childhood challenges. Childhood challenges are very tormenting to a child. Whatever happens to you when you're growing up is very significant, and it has such amplifications in the future. That takes us back to Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud is a very interesting man. Sigmund Freud experimented a lot with sex. To Sigmund Freud, everything is connected to our sexuality. Sigmund loved his mother who was young, and then he connects everything to sexuality. Actually, sex is one of the basic needs. That we have food, clothing, shelter. But we are not telling everybody to have sex every day so that they can, they have food. By basic needs we mean there are certain things that a human being needs. Now, why do we do, when someone comes to see us as a psychologist, why do people say psychoanalysis? We like analyzing what is going on in your life and how it could have led to the present crisis or present problem. Like a simple one, I've just talked about loss and grief. If a child loses a relative or a friend or someone they are close to when they are young, it has implications because the child believes everybody else may go away. It's the same thing with if a child is traumatized and beaten, and that's why we psychologists are against things like corporal punishment. It hounds the child to the head. If a child is sexually molested, it manifests itself later in their life. So most of the issues you see with the people have something to do with what happened when they were growing up. Like if somebody lost, like if a child, a simple one, if a child is brought up by let me do the easiest for you for family, a father and a mother. A father has the role of authority. A mother has the role of love, care, and concern and nurturing. When a child is brought without a father, unfortunately, the child may not learn authority and to obey the law. That's why we say 7 out of 10 prisoners, 7 out of 10 prisoners are the product of a poor father. In psychology, poor does not just mean money, it means even emotionally and psychologically. The person may not have been there. Quickly back to the mother. The mother is the symbol of love and nurturing. When a child is brought up without a mother, it is important for the child to get somebody who loves them so that they can embrace love and care. And that's why you find people who have been brought up without a mother, they don't love because nobody showed them love. So when you get this child requires love. Now, I want you to see what is the implication of growing up without being loved. Then one day you are meeting a man or a woman and you can't love. And that's why we have so many criminal aspects of us in our society. People don't know authority. That's why when you go to traffic, How do you learn to follow traffic when nobody has ever told you that you obey the law? That's why great mothers, with due respect, and even some men, you notice there are some men when the wife passes on, they refuse to marry. They say, I'm going to bring up my children so that I can offer them love. You find that there are some ladies who may not be married, and being single is a circumstance, by the way, and they are the father and the mother. They do the authority. I want you to do your homework. I want you to pack your clothes. I want you to prepare your bed when the child is at the appropriate age. And then the mother says, I love you. I care for you. But now, back to traditional and modern and contemporary. Which mother and father has this time to show love, care, concern? When we have to look for money, the token, the car needs fuel, the fees. You see, they are struggling. So remember, as they are struggling, they are unable to balance the parenting role. And that's why, even when you come to aspects like the ones you had quickly said earlier, like forgetting, that's why when this child misses love in their early childhood, it comes back to haunt them. That's why, for instance, you talk about toxic parents, or even toxic people.
Who are those?
The people who are just toxic. They are unhappy because these people they were brought up in an environment which they don't like, so they are suffering themselves, and they have a problem with everybody. These are the people who meet with you, then you tell them good morning, then they ask you what is so good about the morning. How people treat you or how you treat people has a lot to do with what is psychologically and emotionally going on inside you. Because the more you are tormented, the more you have a lot of fights, the more you feel I have a problem with the world. This world has angered. You see, this world has angered me. You see the anger. It is. You see, I have. But when you love, you fight different people. You relax. There are good people in the world. There are bad people.
So my concern is about what's going on in our society. We have a lot of young people,
yes,
who are, coming of age, and the problem is that there are no jobs. And then, even when there are jobs, you find that these people still do not have it together. First and foremost, if you can describe what you have seen,
yes,
and what is causing all this, and what the solution is for the young people, because if we don't have people with good work ethics, it follows therefore that our country may not be even developed.
I agree with you. And I want to sum this in one word: parenting and parenting skills. This is a very interesting aspect of parenting. The way we were brought up is the way we bring our children. But sometimes it never occurs to us whether the circumstances could have changed. Very, very important. Because if we could ask ourselves that, we would see so many things. But let's start then the parenting. For parents who have their children who have grown up in the 90s, who were born in the 1960s, like us, me, I was born in the 1960s. Me, I don't hide my age. We were brought up to go to school, and we had something to look forward to. We wanted to go to school so that we can put on shoes, so that we can drive a nice car, we can wear, so that we had a purpose. But now, fast track, 60s up to 80. Then in the 80s and 90s, we came out and we started having children. We had the clothes, we had the houses, we had the cars. So these children are not going to school to have clothes, to have cars. These children are going to school, and then we also change school. To us, the school is where the child should go. And that is where we have the greatest and the foremost problem. Many parents don't understand what is school. A school, and I will describe what is a school. A school is a microcosm of society. A school is set up by society. As a society, we have put a place and we say, we want the child to go there and learn the following. So the school does not replace the parent. That is where the problem begins and ends. And that's why whenever I go to parents, even anywhere on the radio, on television, even with media, they keep asking, they keep telling me, the parents are saying, the children are coming home for holidays. What are they going to do? Back to my statement, the child belongs to the parent. In fact, in psychological terms and in social terms, the first and foremost teacher is the parent. The idea is the parents, this concept of parenting must be embraced by the parent. When the parents understand, the parent is the first teacher. When the parent understands that parenting is a process and it goes on, by the way, it never stops, then the parent will start understanding several things. For instance, as a parent, what is my responsibility? It is my responsibility to bring up the child, not the teacher. This schooling thing is the greatest problem. I am telling you this as a parent. I'm telling you this as a teacher. I've been a teacher in a secondary school for 5 years before I joined the Ministry of Education and before I joined the university. I've taught in several universities, 4 of them, as a part-timer and full at the University of Nairobi. I am a board member in several schools. And I will tell you for free, the greatest problem we have is a mindset that it's the school's work to bring up a child. And whether that is absorbed now or 100 years from now, and the parents who get it, they will tell you that's a simple thing. Because what happens is, after your child is through with their lower schooling, if you call it primary or whatever you call it, they will go to secondary school. After they are through, they will come back to you. After they are through with college, they will come back to you.
Where did that idea come from? The idea that it is the schools that should be bringing up children.
It comes from the age set that I started with. For us who were brought up in the 60s up to the 80s, we went to school. Our parents took us to school because they had started understanding that the school is a microcosm of society. So when the child goes to school, the child goes to that institute, and then you as a parent, you are responsible. But by the 90s and 2000, we changed the school. Like during COVID, the greatest, all the time I was on the radio and television during COVID. And the one thing that kept featuring was, what do I do with the children because the schools are closed? You see, that's the parent asking, what do I do with the child because the school is closed? The parent has forgotten in their mind that this is my child. This is where it begins. To whom does the child belong? We do a lot of talks to parents, and parents have started absorbing what we are discussing. That the child belongs to me as a parent. So right from the beginning, and you will see with the few examples that I will give you, I am responsible for my child. What do I teach my child? Number one, what do I teach my child? Etiquette. Simple. Hello, thank you. To eat, to sit, to go to bed, to prepare their bed. I teach my child how to be responsible. Take this cup and take it to the kitchen. I'm not saying when the child is below 3-4 years, they wash the cup. Or if they are below 3 years, you can even take the cup for them. Now, see the effect after that happens. And I will show you 3-4 examples that will show you the drama. Take one person that I'm very much interested in. The girls and the boys are brought up separately. Most parents are very keen on showing. Remember, we belong to the more traditional society, even in contemporary society. We are more keen to show the child, the girl, how to wash her cup, how to wash her clothes. But we are very careful with this boy, my son, my only son, my oldest son. Now, go to that and put that effect on the school. On the school, the child, this is my son. Did you wash his clothes? Did you clean his clothes? Did you clean his room? So this guy, and I will tell you this, when you go to boarding schools, when we are giving talks to Form 1 parents, the first thing they always say is, I am shocked that my son, in fact, the first thing, when they come for midterm, especially for boarding, when they come, the first time when they come, when they go with the children, they call to say, I was shocked. And my son told me, the first thing he had to learn was how to make his bed. A 14-year-old is learning how to make a bed. I want to show you the second shock. Girls don't say the same. I want you to see. You have just set up a mechanism and you leap from it, and you leap from it big. Let me show you the second one. The son has been eating what they want. And that's why when you go to secondary schools, I've gone there even with the media, and I've told them, come, I show you something. You find boys seated there, and they come with their box and they tell the principal, I'm unable to stay here. Why are they unable to stay there? Because they eat what they want, their clothes are washed. So you have shown this young man that I can look after you, and the world belongs to you. Careful, we are 8 billion people in the world. So when you teach your child that the world belongs to them, please show us where we are supposed to live first, because we are also here. And that's why we have created an egoistic group, and that's why I am daring you. I am a teacher, I'm an educationalist. I keep daring people, go and write down the list of schools that have gone on strike and that have been banned, and they are boys' schools. Go and find out. I will give you a very dramatic example that we've been studying this year. In 5 schools, they reported on Tuesday. They stayed on Wednesday. They stayed on Thursday. By Friday, they were saying they want to go home. 5 days, just like you said. The next one, they went on Wednesday, stayed on Thursday, stayed on Friday, Saturday they wanted to go home. Why? Because the first thing is, this guy has learned that my mother will look after me. Let me shock you. Among the parents that I have really empathized with are sons, mothers who have lost sons by suicide. And when I talk to them, and I would like to dare you look for one, you will hear what they tell you. They tell you, I don't know how my son got into this. Because the ego in us, and that's why most men are narcissistic. And that's why most men are egoistic. When you bring yourself and you believe you own everything, what about us? And that's why now we come to the question you're asking me. Now I've given you the example of 5 days in school. When you go to work, you don't want to go to work because according to you, you can't go to work. This year, we are in 2024 alone. I have received over 100 phone calls of parents telling me they want to remove their son from a boarding secondary school. And I asked them, tell me one reason why the boy does not want to stay there. And they tell me he's uncomfortable. And I asked them, what is the meaning of the word comfortable? He can't make his bed. He doesn't want to wash the toilets. He doesn't want to do his homework. If you take him to a day school, will you wash his clothes? Yes, I have a house girl who washes. What about the homework? He will do it at home. So that means he will not do it. So we need to change the parenting inside us, so that we remember that these children that we are bringing up, we need these children to be responsible.
Let's go back to an issue that you brought up earlier on.
Yes.
The issue of suicide.
Yes.
And you said that the rate of suicide has gone up.
Yes.
So what is causing this? What is causing suicide to go up?
To go up. Yeah. First of all, Death by suicide is one of the most disturbing perspectives of our lives, and I would like to apologize to anybody who could have lost somebody through death by suicide. So I sincerely apologize. It is becoming very rampant for both individuals and for families. Actually, it is estimated that 700 people die every year by suicide. But the number is not actually 700. It's estimated to be between 700,000 to about 1.5 million people who die by suicide.
That is globally?
Globally, yes. The reason why they put at 7, but we estimate it to be double, is because there are so many people who commit suicide, but it is not seen as suicide. And I'll give you a quick example. Most celebrities and people who are educated will intoxicate themselves with a drink or alcohol. Then they get into a car and drive off, and then they have an accident. But they were committing suicide. The alcohol is for impairing the decision that they have already made. So now, I said 700 to about 1 million, 1.5. There's another war in trade. For every one person who attempts suicide, there are 2 to 4 people who dies by suicide. There are 2 to 4 people who attempt suicide. That makes suicide among the top 10 causes of death in the world. So that's why in the month of September, every year, there is something we call September is Suicide Awareness and Prevention Month. Awareness because we want people to understand aspect of suicide, and prevention because there are several things we think we can do to prevent people from dying by suicide. Another aspect of it is this. So there is the ones who attempt suicide, but then they are the ones who die by suicide and the ones who attempt. Now, back to the traditional and contemporary. The more traditional societies of our societies, we highly stigmatize suicide. Anybody who dies by suicide, even in a family, do you know this one died by suicide? You know, we don't even speak. This one died by. We stigmatize. We don't want to look at it as a society problem. We want to discriminate a few people, and we don't connect it to mental health. So then, now, quickly then, so that I can answer your question. Number one, it's not true that anybody who says, I want to die, want to go to die by suicide or want to commit suicide, if he says so. There are people who say, I'm fed up with life. I wish I can die. They are crying for help. So when people say, I feel life has reached an end, I feel this is too much, let us understand. These people could be crying for help. Let us talk to them. Let us ask them, careful here. Is it okay if we can chat? Why do you feel that way? What's going on? What can we do? What is the issue? And if you can't discuss it with me, whom can you discuss it with? So that's number one. Now let's now go to the people who die by suicide. There are people who attempt the first time or even the second time or the third time. The more attempts someone has attempted suicide, the more it should worry you, because it implies that they are trying to succeed. And that's why again we come back to more women than men attempt suicide, but more men than women commit suicide. Why? Because men's attempt at suicide are more lethal. They use a weapon or something that is a sure bet. So now, when somebody, and that's why again we are very careful in psychology and in therapy, we try to talk to the person and we find out, especially if they have a plan. So now, why are suicide then so many? And why are they becoming so many? We are back to the new world order. It's a world which has so many issues. There are very many causes of suicide. Like I said, there is the genetic disposition. Whenever you find a family that someone has died by suicide, you tend to find somebody else. People say it is genetic, but you see, we need to get the gene of suicide. And that's why we say there is also the socioeconomic circumstances. And also the person could have thought that is the way out. Another aspect are, what are the causes of suicide? Like, Retrenchment. Somebody wakes up and they are told you are jobless, like being sacked from work. It affects people, and we must embrace. And that's why we say, even when somebody is about to be laid off, we need to talk to them. You just can't give somebody a letter and tell them go away. But another one is back to relationship. Relationship is one of the causes of suicide, especially among men. A man wakes up and he finds his wife no longer loves, or girlfriend no longer loves them as much as they thought. Women are now here in psychology, remember, women are a bit more can we say coping skills. When a lady finds that the man does not love me as much as I thought, she will look for 2-3 other ladies, and then they will hold each other together, and then they will cry, and then they say, look at this man, he has abandoned you. And then of course they will say, all men are like that. And then somehow the talking helps. The problem is the men don't talk about it. That's the first thing. When you find this lady no longer loves you as much as you would. And that's why in the armed forces, it's more fatal. In the armed forces, the man has a gun. Look at me. That's why he produces. Me, I'm a teacher. I have a pen or a piece of chalk. The piece of chalk can't kill me. So even when I feel I want to die, I hold the piece of chalk and break it. Then I go home and eat food. Then I sleep and wake up tomorrow. But the armed forces with a gun, the gun does not understand when it shoots, it cannot go back. And that's why we need to tell people to be careful with what they are holding, even if it's a knife and a weapon. So this is why we have a month we call Suicide Awareness Month. By the way, September 10th of every year is World Suicide Awareness and Prevention Day. In September, we have also added another word. Suicide is Pain Awareness Month.
So the question is, in traditional society, were there incidents of suicide? And if there were,
yes,
what was the main cause of suicide in traditional society? And how does that compare with the causes of suicide in modern society?
Perfect. The causes were there. I'll give you 2-3. If you want for women, it was maybe lack of a child. Yeah. And if you have read the Bible carefully, I don't want to look like I've read the Bible. You have read about a man called one of the men whose wife could not give birth, but he had several maidens. And the Bible says, and he gave the first maiden who had a child. And the child was named on her behalf. And the second wife gave also the maiden. And the third. So the women, it was a cover up. So that even when the woman cannot give a child, it was done in a way that she felt these are children that are attached to my lineage. Let's go to the men. With the men, I tell people that in Africa, in traditional societies, there was a lot of outsourcing. There was a lot of outsourcing. That's why in African traditional, in our more traditional societies, you used to find that if men of the same age mate could even visit each other, and there were many reasons for that, like there were children born with special needs. So they would sort that out, and there were some men who may not have been able to give birth. And that's why the children belonged to the clan. So nobody could point out, me, I have had children, so I don't fear saying my name, that Geoffrey Wango cannot have children, because I have children. They may be from 5, 6 or 7 of my partners. So you see, can I call it soft landing? Did you notice a soft landing? There's like a soft landing for both the man and the woman. Another cause of it was when some people have children with special needs. But again, you remember the softness that the lady has several children, and then so there, it was sort of, can I say that the social setting and also the support mechanism. Somebody, a man. By the way, in traditional societies, with due respect to the men who are watching this, you just couldn't beat your wife. The father would come there or the mother, and that's why in traditional society, let me teach you a very simple trick. If you are a man and you are beating your wife, and your mother came in to find you were beating your wife and stood in the middle, you would not touch your wife. Because if you threw a punch to hit your wife and you hit your mother, my friend, have you ever heard of a curse? The women would start wailing because you are dead. You don't hit your mother. The idea here is the mother is saying, we have no problem that you are annoyed. We accept you are very annoyed, but this is not how to handle it. So there were several soft landings. I was waiting for you to move fast track to where we are now. You can't have a child, everybody is putting you in the social media. now even something so private, you with due respect, women also used to have, sometimes they would have a miscarriage and the woman would come to support you. Now you put on it's called a baby. You have a baby and you put the baby bump, and you're about to have a child, you put it on social media. When you don't have a child, everybody is asking, where is the child? You don't need to tell anybody you're traumatized. You have money. You need money. There's so many things now. So fast track. And all the simple, I've started with the simple reasons because now they are amplified. Everybody puts it into social media. You can't have a child. So and so, Wango cannot have a child. Now, how do you think I feel when I open the social media to read that I am threading? Because I can't.
Let's move on to a different area.
Yes.
The issue of the rampant violence.
Yes.
The other day we saw a policeman.
Yes.
Trying to manhandle a student at Multimedia University.
Stress leads to violence. People are stressed. People are stressed. And if you want to see it, look at the traffic. When you go to traffic, everybody is hooting. People are so stressed. You're in a hurry to go get money. You're in a hurry to get money to fill up your basket of money. So everybody is stressed. When everybody is stressed, they become angry. Let me put it the best way. When people are stressed, stress is about how you can cope. You become irritated. Why is this man in front of me? You see, irritation leads to anger. Anger leads to violence. And that's why I like the way you've started with it. There is something we call horizontal violence. People ask me, what is horizontal violence? There is horizontal violence and there is vertical violence. You see, horizontal is this way, vertical is this way. Horizontal. You find even motorcyclists fighting. Your first question is, this is a motorist, boda. Why are they fighting? They are all struggling. Why are they? It is for horizontal violence makes you attack the fastest person near you. Husband attacks wife. Children attack children. Horizontal violence. Now, there is also something we call vertical violence. You attack. That's why.
What is vertical violence?
That's what I wanted to show you. That's why this police officer who woke up at 4 and he has been on the streets from 4, he's been seated there 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. You see, 2 o'clock. He's been standing there for 10 hours. And then he sees this person demonstrating. This guy is angry. He's annoyed. He's looking for anybody to hit. And that's why it ultimately reaches to, unfortunately, suicide. And you see, in suicide, we say, it's like reaching on a cliff. So when you reach at the end of this cliff, you are like, I can't go over. Instead of reaching the edge of the cliff and saying, let me look for a way to come back, you jump. So that is why there's a lot of violence. And if you check in the world right now, the violence people see on the TV is about countries. But the violence inside us and in our society is beyond scope. By the way, research in psychology has really improved. Psychology is, you'd be shocked that psychology is one of the best subjects that is very well studied. There's a lot of research in Kenya, in Africa, and in the world. In fact, research even by the concentrate on 5 major areas in psychology. One, we concentrate on the cognitive, what goes on inside our mind, like our feelings. The second one, we concentrate also on our behavior. Why does somebody behave the way they do? Another one is what we call psychoanalysis, your growth and how you have grown up and what could have caused it. Another one is experimental. We want to find out how does one person behave as different from another. Like if you sat there, we can give you a microphone, then you give someone another microphone, and then we see how do they behave differently. And then another one, very most important, like you said, is the treatment. What treatment works best for where? So with all this, right now in the world, there is we have 2 main documents that we use. The international, we have what we call the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It is now at 5. We check all the orders and disorders, so that when we say this person is not doing very well, we say this person is not doing well because we have certified ourselves what could it be the problem, society, socio or psychological. And we also have the International Classification of Diseases, which also looks at, is this a disease, is this not a disease? Is this in fact in psychology we call it, is this normal or not normal? You're refusing to take tea, is that normal or not normal? So there's a lot of research done in the world, first of all, that we can use. And there's also a lot of studies in our context. And one of the studies in our context, especially in Africa and developing countries, is the stigma associated with mental health and several aspects like mental health, diseases, and all that. And this has helped us to deal with so many issues. One of the issues right now we are trying to get the world to do a lot of research in is cancer. Because cancer is actually included in this contextualization. You see, this person got sick because they did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And also, another research we are trying to do a lot in Africa, and is of interest, is the spiritualism. Because again, everything in our context, in the more traditional societies, is spiritual. You can imagine, even with illness, with disease, with due respect like cancer and HIV and AIDS, there are still people who believe that they can be prayed for. Yet they know there is no cure. I'm not saying God heals, but the doctors treat. And you find somebody with cancer at stage 3 going to a pastor. And that's why also we are extending this to spiritualism and religion. And we are saying we need to also tell our people the difference between religion, spiritualism, and faith, because they are confusing them.
Okay. Now I want to ask another question about the role and ethics of psychologists, particularly in relation to leadership.
Yes.
You can look at somebody and you can very quickly assess and say this person is not normal.
Yes. Yes.
I'm alluding to
it's many context,
psychoanalysis.
Yes.
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 You are perfectly capable of telling us if our leaders are crazy or not.
We choose to ignore.
We choose to ignore. No?
I like that.
Our societies are failing because psychologists have refused to take the bull by the horns and to show us what the problem is.
I totally agree with you. It's not just in Kenya. It's also there in the world. In fact, you would be surprised that psychologists have managed to put a clause in so many of the constitutions and in societies that says that a person can be removed from office because of pronounced insanity. That is, the person is no longer capable of holding the office. The only problem is politics is politics. If you come as a psychologist and you assess this person and say this person is psychologically disturbed, they will have a lady psychologist to pronounce them psychologically stable. And it's like what we are now doing with people like the narcissists. We tell people that we come up and diagnose somebody, this is narcissistic. But then there are some people who now want to argue and say his or hers is mild. But the truth is, they know what they are doing. And that makes psychology a bit distinct from what you would call the medical world, And that's what sometimes we've been saying. Because when a medical doctor comes and says the cause of death was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they do the postmortem, it is taken as very important. But the problem with psychology is that there are those who come and say, well, we have this diagnosis, and it is rated different from so-and-so. But the truth is, it's there. And on a positive note also, the more developed countries take psychology very seriously. In fact, you'd be shocked that leaders in the more developed countries have a lot of people who advise them. And you'd also be shocked that psychology and in fact, they usually call it social psychology, is one of the major subjects in developed countries. It's in developing, the problem with the developing countries is that in our societies, the tradition of the developing countries is that everything is political. Like now, if you come on and you talk about aspects like parenting, drug and substance abuse and such, well, it's politicized. Nobody, after all, it's not that important. But if you go and talk about a political party, that is significant and it will be highlighted. But the truth is also the media has done very well in the last, especially 5 years in our country. There's a lot of change. Like this month, there was a lot of talk about suicide and suicide awareness. Very, very important. October is Mental Health Month. It has been talked about. And in my opinion, it has saved a lot of people from being psychologically disturbed than they would have been if the programs that are there were not there. When the hyena wants to eat its kid, the hyena will not eat the kid immediately. The hyena will say, this child is smelling like a goat. It's psychological. The hyena will not immediately eat the kid. So say, this kid is smelling like a goat. So the hyena ate the goat. It's a psychological. It's in one of the areas I told you, the cognitive. You see, the cognitive is in the brain and functioning of the brain. When you want to kill a dog, you don't kill a dog immediately. You say, actually, do you know this dog has been eating the children of... In fact, this dog has been barking at all the neighbors, even the friends. In fact, this dog almost tried to beat me. So now what you are saying is you want to dispose of the dog. Now, psychology is highly connected with journalism and propaganda. I tell people that I like journalists who have read about Hitler. Hitler is, there are 3 people in this world that I tell people, if you don't know about 3 people in the world, you don't need to ask whether you have a problem. You have. And I have realized that very many people in Kenya, in the world, have a problem. You must know about Jesus. Even if you don't like Jesus, I didn't say these people you like them. I said if you don't know about them. One is Jesus. You must have heard about Jesus. It's a man who walked around here, was very humble. Another one is called Muhammad. Muhammad is the most common name in the world. So if somebody is called Muhammad, there must have been. I didn't say you like them, by the way. And another one is called Hitler. This man led to the death of 50 million people in the world. How do you be living in this world without knowing a man who caused the death of 50 million people in the world? He's diagnosed as narcissistic. He was sick in the head. Now, how did he do it? Simple, propaganda. So in psychology, politicians are the best psychologists. They know propaganda. So if politicians want to pass to you something, it must be brought to you and you must buy it. So if politicians, and that's why politicians, like in our developing countries, they misuse us. They first create a problem and then they give you the solution. Remember where you started and where I started. If you want to eat, when the hyena wants to eat its young one, it says the young one smells like a goat. So this hyena has a goat. So you create a problem, then you solve it. So it smells like a goat, so you eat. You see, you created a problem. So that's why even in our politics, you create a problem, then you solve it. And that's the narcissistic style. Narcissism has something to do with self-centeredness. The self-centeredness, the nostalgia that you are the only one. And you are the center of everything. It starts with egoism. And a narcissistic person makes you believe that they are the only ones. And it has manipulation and control. You see, it goes to psychosis. It has control. You see, this person controls you. That's why when someone is married to or has befriended a narcissist, the narcissist makes you believe that you exist because of them. If without them you wouldn't exist. And that's why the politician, remember, that's why I was very particular about the hyena and the young one. The hyena is the one who decides that the child, the young one, is smelling like a goat, and it solves the problem of the goat in his or her midst, and eats the goat. By the way, I've tried something that is psychological, and I would like to dare you try. Look for about 10-15 people and tell them to write for you. The president, of course, they will write. Their member of parliament, their women rep. Tell them to write, and you see, they will tell you, I know the party, but I don't know the person. Because they go there and fought as a broke. And that's why, psychologically, we are where we are. Because as we are confused by leaders who are using us to their advantage.
Who is a psychopath, first and foremost?
Yes.
And do you think our politicians are psychopaths?
Let me start with a sociopath. Human beings are social. And that's why we respect people who are introvert and extrovert. But human beings are social animals. That's what we say. So you're supposed to interact with other people. If you don't interact us very well, we call you a sociopath. We say you are not able to interact with us, because you should interact with us. That's why we are human beings. But now, as social interaction, now we come to the psycho. The psycho is now we have gone quickly to the brain. The psychology, the mental process. A psychopath, this is a person who deviates from the norm of what other people do. And that's why we usually, that's why, remember I mentioned the word like normal and abnormal. Like all of us are wearing clothes. So if you don't wear, if we agree we are in a room, and all of us remove our clothes. It's a very simple joke we make. And all of us remove from our clothes. Then, me as the lecturer, I don't remove my clothes. Then a person from Mars, planet Mars or Jupiter or Mercury comes and enters the room. And he or she is asked, who is normal and who is abnormal? The person will look at all the others are not wearing clothes and say, but this lecturer is wearing clothes, so this one must be the most abnormal. But in your opinion, who is abnormal? It is the ones who have removed clothes, because we human beings wear clothes. So a psychopath is somebody who psychologically deviates from what we expect. And that person, it can go on to, that's why we call it a psychosis. Politics involves a lot of emotions. Politics is emotional. It involves a lot of emotions. And that's, of course, and that's why in the Western world, they have psychologists who even guide them with their propaganda. Is this what you are doing? Yes. Now, let me show you. This is the one that will go through.
How can psychology contribute in the democratic process to help us elect better leaders?
I'll answer you that one very fast. It's something I've been trying, but it doesn't work. It is a very simple thing. We use the media to educate people on what is leadership and politics. The politicians will not accept it. That's why we don't do it. And I'll give you a statistic that will shock you. Very fast. Pick 100 people. Okay? I want you to pick candidate A and B and C. You watch this carefully, and you see why. Just now. So 100 people. So 100, you can take the 100 to be 100,000 voters. That's why we are going to use the easiest numbers. The 100 is 100,000 voters. So you pick 3 people. Okay? The 3 people are voted by 30 or 30,000 if you like. 70,000 do not vote. I will show you a very simple statistic. So this 3, A gets 21,000 votes. B gets 5. C gets 3. Then there are also others. So only, if you count in total, only 30,000 people voted. The reading was 21% wins the vote to represent that constituency. 70,000 is not 40. Does that person represent those people? Thank you. That's why I'm a psychologist. I cannot be allowed to say that on national radio. I've written several books. I try to talk a lot to people. For once, the reason why I got an award on promoting mental health is that there are many people I've met and who listen to me and who come and tell me, well, I should have shown you my phone. Last year, I got more than 20 texts, including one time I came from a radio. That's the one that moved me. And a young man told me he was going to Nakuru to commit suicide. And he came out at Naivasha. And he called me. He told me, I've been in university for 2 years. I've not been attending classes. I was going to commit suicide. But you have said, if I have a problem with being admitted, I call you. I told him, please call me. Go to the university and tell them you want to go on. And I've been following him. He's still alive. So there are people who call me and say they feel life has reached the end. They text me and they say, you encouraged me. I listened to you on the radio. I read your article. Because the truth is, life is challenging. And the truth is, there are times everybody goes down. I send messages to people and I tell them, encourage somebody. And I've met people who say, I was encouraged by you. There are many people who have never met me, but they say I've encouraged them. So I may not have solved the world problem, but the few have encouraged. It's good. I mean, there's nothing as good as giving people hope. I give talks in schools. I've met students at the university who say, you came to our school and you talked to us. I've done talks, by the way, also for Equity, Wings to Fly. I have met so many students who have excelled. So there's something we can do. There's something we can do, all of us. It may not be. It may not be that momentous. It may not be that. It may not be like the weed or the rain that rains. But every time you give somebody a new life and you give them hope, it's something to be celebrated. Now let me tell you about the lowest moment in life. It was the lowest moment. My mom passed on Wednesday. And then Thursday I went for the funeral preparations. Wednesday, Thursday I went for the funeral preparations. Then on Friday I didn't go. I was a bit tired and I was feeling unwell. We went for a walk with my wife. Then I noticed she was feeling unwell. Then on Saturday I took her to hospital. She had COVID and I had COVID. So my mother passes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday, my wife had COVID. So as we were preparing for my mother's funeral, my wife was in ICU and I had COVID. By the way, then Saturday I decided to go to Nairobi Hospital to be checked whether I have COVID, and I was told I have COVID. So my wife is in ICU, my mother is dead, and I have COVID. And I remember that Sunday, my colleagues calling me from the university. That is why I'm talking about so many things like support. And I was seated in the house, and I was on the floor, on the carpet. You're a young man. When you have COVID, you can't eat. So I have been struggling to eat, and I am tired. I don't know whether you know tired. I've been driving a car. I drove myself. The previous day I was driving, following an ambulance. My mom is passed on, and I am seated on the carpet. And I have never forgotten that Sunday it was raining outside, and now they call me. So I'm seated on the carpet. And one of them told me, Daktari, you don't need to tell anybody you are at your lowest. And I told them, I want to be sincere with you. I am at the lowest. And I was smiling. And they asked me, then one of them said, you are smiling. So I asked them, what can I do? I have my wife at ICU. I have my mother dead. I have COVID. And it's raining outside. And it was raining. My friend, even if I was not breathing at that time, nobody would have taken me anyway. So they asked me, so what are you going to do? I told them, well, I'm just here. I have taken some water, so I'll just go and sleep. So you face low moments. And life has its low moments. That was my lowest. And I stayed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. My mom was buried on the 1st of April. I've never forgotten. I stayed in Lokai. I drove myself home. And before that, I had gone to hospital and I was told, you are okay. My oxygen was, incidentally, it was at 95. I was breathing, I had very good pressure. And I drove myself for my mother's funeral. And I sat down there looking at that coffin. And I can tell you the words I told my mother. How did you decide to go now? So life has low moments, but it has the 5. Problem solving. What can I do? I mean, okay, you are me. You've got to take your wife to hospital. Critical thinking, decision making, resilience, and self-reflection. And that's why we must continuously build each other. And hopefully when we are there, I should add something. It is important for us to get these skills before this culminates into it. Because I thank God I'm alive and well. And my wife, by the way, stayed after 11 days and she came back. And I thank God for her. Life does not have solutions. And that's why we say no one size fits all. There is no one shoe that fits all of us. There's no one trouser that fits us. You may be 36, 38, then 42, then another one is. So that's how we must look at life. And we must look at life differently. So it is true somebody may be overwhelmed by a relationship and they want to die by suicide because they feel their relationship is not doing as well. But there's somebody else looking for a relationship and wants to die by suicide. When we were young boys, we used to be told, if you go to the forest, I have tried to use this example, by the way, on the radio everywhere. And it's shocking. We used to be told, if you go to the forest and you see the young of a cat, do not pick it. Go and try to ask people, why were you told not to pick the cat? The reason is, if you pick the young cub of a lion, and the lion fights you holding it, and it roars, and you release it, the lion has no problem. It gives you back the cat. Now, try that with the young of a leopard. It will never forgive you. If it jumps from one tree to another and gets hold of you, it doesn't ask you to release it. So because boys will see the cat, that's why they used to be warned. If it jumps from one tree to another and gets hold of you, it will. A leopard does, when you're holding a young of a leopard, it doesn't jump to you to give it the cup. Now, let us now try the same, and you will see why. How many people have the skills we've talked about? Decision making, problem solving, critical thinking, resilience, self-reflection. How many people have? I'll try it with you and show you. I ask people a very simple question, and I'll do it for you on this video. Supposing a snake surrounds itself around you. Surrounds itself around you. What are you supposed to do? Now let me tell you the answers people tell me. They will take their phone and they text the game rangers. There's a snake surrounding me. Some say they will take a selfie. It's not a joke. A snake surrounds itself around you. What are you supposed to do? I'll show you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to break a stake. Then when you break the stake, the snake will hear the sound of the stake, and it will think that it has broken your bones. So it will uncoil so that it can swallow you. I was waiting for you to ask the $1 million question. Where did the stake come from? Thank you. You should have been holding the stake before the snake came. You have watched a very simple movie called The Gods Must Be Crazy. There's a boy there, and when he's walking, he sees, watch, a hyena, and then he's carrying a stake, and he puts it on his head. Why? And people watch, and I ask them that question, they're like, I have watched that movie 10 times. Why does the boy put a stake this way?
To make himself taller.
Thank you. To make himself taller. When the hyena notices you are taller than it doesn't eat you. I was waiting for you to say, the boy had a stake before the hyena came. Now, you have asked me a question and you can get the answer. Why do we have so many mental issue problems? Because people are not equipped with skills to handle their issues. Like health, like relationship. How many people want to know what is a relationship? How many people want to know how to handle a relationship? How many people want to know, how many people want us to tell them that lifestyle is a problem? When you drink, when you smoke, when you have too many loans, when you have too many problems, they will overwhelm you. People don't want to listen. It's called, you have so many problems because, of course, life is overwhelming in the new, modern, and contemporary living, but also, we do not have the skills. And even when you call people for seminars, I call people for seminars, we discuss what I'm telling you. I'm so happy you've answered. They keep saying the only thing he talked about was a snake. So they never even get the story of the snake. But I'm very happy you said it. The boy is carrying a stick. You don't get the skills when the snake comes or when the hyena comes. You get them before the problem comes. How many people know how to deal with loss and grief? How many people know what to do in how to handle a relationship? You do the simplest thing on earth. People, what are the stages of a relationship? Oh, I got a girl, or I got a young man, and we got married. Then I asked them the easiest question: did he say he want marriage? By the way, did you yourself want marriage? did you even sit and say to yourself, "Excuse me, no." Let's leave the other person. I want to get married. Okay, very good. I'm going to look for somebody who can marry me, or we can get married. No, we just found ourselves. I give talks, and I think I'll invite you one of these days, and you sit there and then you laugh. And you laugh. And people say, we just got together and we started staying together. So why are you staying together? Because you got a baby. So I say, okay, I've answered you. That's why people are tormented, because we don't want to resolve our own issues first. Yes. And that's why we are frustrated. That's why we are angry. That's why we are irritated. Whom are you annoyed with? Look at me. Am I annoyed with anybody? Why are you so annoyed? What are you quarreling people about? We did not put you in your problems. I tell young people that you say, okay, you go to Naivasha, you enjoy yourself with your money, then you become broke. Then you tell us you are depressed. When you were enjoying your money, did you call us? Adulthood is a very complicated thing. There's a joke you guys, young people keep putting in their memes, and I really like it. It says, adulthood is a scam. I love that meme. Adulthood is a scam. Nobody tells you about adulthood. I wish I had more time. I do for you midlife crisis. Adulthood is a scam. Nobody tells you that you are an adult and you're supposed to be responsible. Everybody tells you. But what do we tell you? Don't sleep. Did hard. You will sleep after you have left school. Since you left school, how many hours have you been sleeping? Adulthood is a scam. Even me, I don't sleep. But we tell, let me tell you, sleep. Don't sleep now. Read. When you become an adult, you sleep. Which sleep do you do? When you live in Logai and you have to get into a matatu and be in town by 7. So the truth is, we also don't tell people the process of adulthood. I agree with you. I'm told Gen Z fear how many things? 5. They fear pregnancy, marriage, when the phone has no charge, when the internet is down, and when they have no credit. That's what you have taught them. So, you have none of those have something to do with the responsibility. We have not told them what happens. We are supposed to tell them, excuse me, when you become an adult, I teach young people, and I will teach you something very simple that I teach them. I tell them, I find young people jumping. I want to be 18 so that I can get an ID. But who tells you what it means to be 18? 18 means you are now responsible. When you are responsible, terms and conditions apply. TCA. Terms and conditions apply. No, you have got an ID. Very good. If you are caught with drugs or you commit a crime, you can be jailed. Terms and conditions apply. If you make somebody pregnant or you are becoming pregnant, you are responsible for the child. Terms and conditions apply. If you are employed and you don't go to work, you can be sacked. But we don't want to tell anybody terms and conditions apply. We want to tell them, you are now an adult, you have got an ID. What's an ID? An ID is an identification card. It identifies you. And that's why even in the Western world, they tell you, you are now an adult. An adult means you are responsible. So we don't want to tell people the truth. The truth is, you are now responsible. We don't want, and people don't want to hear that word. I tell people that as a psychologist, psychology is very interesting. I would like you to one time when you are bored, you watch a video about birds. Birds, B-I-R-D, a bird. Birds will lay eggs, and then the bird will bring food to the small birds, okay? And then after some time, it tears the nest so that they can fly. We humans are the only people who don't want to put responsibility on the table. We don't want to put it. We don't want to put it here. The word responsible here on this table. But the bird will break the nest so that the birds can fly. Remember, you have not prepared this person for this stage. So the person reaches this stage where you have told them you'll be sleeping. After you are an adult, you'll be sleeping. You have all the time. Now you reach 18. And you are like, let me put it another way. It's like, have you ever been on the top of Mount Kenya? If you go to the top of Mount Kenya, let me show you, it's an illusion. If you go to the top of Mount Kenya, what would you expect? You would expect to see the whole of Kenya. Yeah, you are on the top of Mount Kenya, the highest. If you go to Mount Kilimanjaro, you would expect to see the whole of Africa. If you go to Mount Everest, watch the videos of Mount Everest, by the way, you would expect to see the whole world. But it's an illusion. Immediately you get there, you don't see anything. That's what is happening to the young people. Because you've not taught them to be adults, when they reach there, they find nothing, empty. It's an illusion. It doesn't exist. So they become bored with life. And that is partly the reason why we have more young people between 15 and 35 dying by suicide than anybody else. Why? Because suddenly, there is nothing. You've reached the top. You've reached up to the top of Mount Kenya. We had told you see Kenya. So now you are there. So now where is Kenya? There is no. Remember, thank you. In fact, you've asked your question so well. And I like the way you're going pace by pace. You have reached there. Very good. Now you are at the top of the mountain. Remember, after you reach the top of the mountain, there is nowhere else to go. Yes. Now, put it in human terms. You are now 18. Now, let me tell you in psychological terms what happens when you are 18. When you are young of tender age, between 1 and 5 years, everybody takes care of you. That's why we have even a small, we are busy checking the size of your shoes and clothes. When you are between 5 and 12, you start becoming responsible until you remove your shoes. By the time you are becoming a teen, which when you want to jump to the adulthood, you are now starting to find your way. When you reach 18, you are an adult. We are not responsible for you. I don't know whether you can see the confusion. All along, I thought somebody was looking after me. And now, I'm being told, excuse me, you are now on your own. It's an anticlimax. That's what I've been trying to say. Yes. So what can we do about it? What can we do about it? There are several things we can do about it. Number one, we need the person to get at this stage in the same process. We need to have been inculcating in this person what is a sense of responsibility. We should have told them, when you reach the top of Mount Everest, you will come down. And when you be coming down, it is as challenging as you are going up. And in human terms, it's called growth and development. Let me distinguish for you the terms, then you tell me whether it becomes easier. A tree grows. If you plant a tree here, it grows. A human being develops. The human being grows, but it develops. So many facets, the brain, the body, everything, intellectually, whatever. So we need to grow the adult so that and develop them. Not that they will go to school and finish. They will go to school and finish is growth. The person developing is the person develops into an adult. There's a difference. Let me do it finally with one simple example that I like giving. You start with traveling with a car. A car has 4 wheels. When do you check when it has pressure? Before you travel, you stop and you check the pressure. Then you check the spare tire, whether it is okay. Then you take off. Not when you have a puncture, you check whether you have a spare tire. Because even you are not sure. Yes, I give that example. I did that last week on one of the radio stations, and one of the gentlemen called me and told me how he traveled all the way to Nakuru without a spare tire. And that's when he realized what it means. He had removed it and put it in the other car. Yes, so it's the counseling that we should be emphasizing. Is not to enable people. It's not treatment. We should not go for treatment. Even medicine is not going for treatment. It's going for their prevention so that the person can go before. Yes. Thank you.